We don't know. We can only look at what we can see on screen to ascertain the possibility of its presence or absence.
Sound check.
Well, g'day there. Welcome back to another vocal analysis here at Voice Essentials. My name is Dr. Dan. Today, again, we are listening to SB19 singing TILALUHA. I still don't know whether I'm pronouncing that correctly, everyone. This particular performance, because we've actually had a look at TILALUHA. But this particular performance is being done at the Cultural Center of the Philippines complex in the Philippines for what's called the virtual round of the ASEAN Korea Music Festival 2021. And it was uploaded in January 2022. I think during the era of COVID, I think maybe. Certainly the tail end of it. Hence, that might explain kind of what we're seeing here as far as the performance nature of it. You can see that for yourself in a moment. Normally, I'm able to remember why are we looking at TILALUHA. I think this is like the third performance of this we've seen, and normally I would have a reason for looking at the same song again and again and again. It's almost certainly one of you have asked for me to have a look at this particular performance, so we're gonna do that, and appreciate once again the boys, the young men's harmonies, and you know the nature of their performance. This is not early in their career, but it's not. I mean, we're still talking. This was 4 or 5 years ago, so this is. They have developed, I think, even beyond what we get to see here. But nonetheless, let's jump in and have a listen.
Sa tuwing ika'y nakikita, di mapigil ang luha sa aking mata. Paano nga bang limutin ka kung sa puso ko ika'y nag-iisa? Di ba na ako'y umaasa? Tama bang nadarama para sa'yo, sinta? Bakit nga ba mahal kita kung sa puso mo'y mayroon ang iba? Unti-unting lanurin ang aking nadarama, o buhos ng ulan, wag nang tumila pa.
Having listened to this, I think I can hear a development in their vocal maturity when we compare it, and we're not going to do that in this video, but recently, as I said, I've already done a review. It was actually a comparative analysis of a rehearsal and then singing this particular piece in the Wish Bus very early on in their vocal career. their performance career, and they were very underdeveloped as a group. Still sounded great, but in this performance, you can hear they have been singing together professionally a bit longer. There's some breadth of tone in the color of the voicing. They're fuller, and the harmonies are a bit tighter. You can tell. Now, because we don't, typically when we're watching a performance, line those performances up and have a listen to them, you don't get to hear that. But given that I have just recently looked at those earlier performances, I reckon you can. I reckon you can really hear the voicings coming through the development of them.
Kahit na ulay tumila na, luha sa aking ulay, patuloy pa. Ano nga ba? Ano nga ba? Ano nga bang magagawa? Kung hanggang ngayon'y mahal pa rin kita. Unti-unting lanurin ang aking nadarama. O buhos ng ulan, huwag nang tumila pa.
Once again, we're watching, and this is, I've said this multiple times about SB19. I love the authentic nature of their connection. I personally, and this is almost certainly a cultural thing, I personally, when I'm watching K-pop, I don't feel the same level of connection. But when I'm watching P-pop, Filipino pop, I do. I feel it when I watch her name is the Filipinos, Phoenix. Her name has completely escaped me. And the other one. You know who I'm talking about. Female Filipino singers. I feel a connection to them, and a sense of connection to the lyric. I don't necessarily get that when I'm watching K-pop singers. Again, that's not because K-pop singers are not connected. I do think it's a cultural thing. And so it's interesting to me that, I do feel it with Filipino singers. Morissette. I knew if I kept talking long enough, it would come to me. Morissette, who I always feel a tremendous sense of connection to what she sings, because she herself is feeling that sense of connection. So it's an interesting thing. And just watching these fellows connect with the lyric, it's really important. Now, as I was also watching that, I was thinking to myself, do I do the pitch analysis, because we have already looked at that multiple times with SB19. We've been able to identify that at times their voices are being pitch aligned, at times they are not. And so I think we have to recognize that it's always driven by context with this particular group. In fact, I think it's always driven by context with everyone, because you as the artist do not always have control over what happens to your vocal performance after the fact. In this particular moment, I'm going to show you, just because if I don't, someone will say, well, you're trying to hide something. And if I do, I know some of you are going to go, well, why are you still going on about it? I'm not going on about it. I'm just going to show you so that we can have a look and maybe draw some conclusions as to what might be happening here from the very beginning. nice flat note there.
Di mapigil ang luha sa aking mata. Paano nga ba, paano nga ba, paano nga bang limutin?
As I'm watching this, I see this sort of... I suspect it isn't, but equally there are other aspects to it that suggest that it is. Whenever we talk about pitch correction, I'm generally not looking to identify auto-tune. Let's differentiate between auto-tune, which would, I think in this instance, would actually have, the voices would have to be auto-tuned because this was a live presentation. That being said, the upload of this has happened after the fact, so it could have been doctored in post. See, these are all the variables that we actually can't absolutely know the answers to, but we look at the evidence. And so when we're talking about auto-tune, it's typically happening in the moment. When we talk about pitch tuning, we're talking about something that's being applied in post, sometimes quite surgically, and sometimes not so surgically. But all of the above can be done in a relatively transparent way where it doesn't leave a lot of evidence. It just manages the voice in such a way that we hear a much better presentation of pitch.
Kung sa puso ko ika'y nag-iisa.
See that one there? This is where I go, I don't know that this is pitch tune because the overshoot of the start, then the voice drops back to just under the dead center, and then the vibrato kind of, we get this sort of activity at the end. The voice sort of jumps up.
Di ba na ako'y umaasa?
And that's another note that would suggest I'm going to make a suggestion that it isn't being tuned, and all of you will go, well, of course it isn't, Daniel. We all of us, you, me, we don't know. We can only look at what we can see on screen to ascertain the possibility of its presence or absence. Actually, that harmony would almost definitely tell us it isn't tuned because that was not on. Yeah, there's a voice that's not quite on there in the harmonics, in the harmony structure.
Kasabay ng pagtila ng darama. Unti-unting lunurin ang aking nadarama.
Now that's interesting, isn't it? How he's popped his in-ear monitor there, because the other in-ear monitor over his left shoulder is already out, and so he's popped his right ear monitor, which is almost certainly his only access, because the stage is so dark I can't see whether there's any floor monitors or side fill. So the only access he has to the track is through that right ear, yet he's popped it. I wonder what went on there. 8, 9.
Tinuturing ng aking kadarama. Focus ng ulan, huwag nang tumila pa. Paano nga ba mapapawi? Labis na pagdurusa, kung walang ang pag-asa.
Just on the in-ear monitor thing, it's really interesting. You'll often see a lot of singers will pop their left ear, and they'll be monitoring the right. This is I'm making a generalized observation, and we see that here, except for Pablo, who does exactly what I do, which is the opposite. I tend to pop my right ear and keep my left ear in. I actually don't know whether that's a right-handed, left-handed thing because I'm right-handed, and yet I find myself doing the opposite to a lot of people. And Pablo also has popped his right. Gee, that dropped off at the end there, didn't it? Like the level? That's a mixing thing. It's obviously been I wonder whether they've gone to ad break there or something. I don't know. That was an interesting fade out of the vocal. I love them. You know I love them. And they continue to be, to offer us things to observe. And we can, it was interesting for me, having recently reviewed and analysed a much younger performance of this particular piece, to hear it a few years later being done, to hear the maturity, the development in those voices, it speaks to, what we as learn to sing singers, because that's what we do here at the channel, we're about learning to sing, just by doing the work, your voice will develop and mature, and we want to do the right kind of work. We want to make sure we are developing healthy, sustainable technique. But when we do, the voice will build. It can mature, and they're also in that era of life, the 20s, where we'd also anticipate, with the right type of use, for us to hear that maturation of their larynges and their vocal fold mass amounts and all those sorts of things. We would anticipate we would be hearing that, so that when the voice gets to an anatomical cruise state, if you will, of their entering into their 30s, if they've done the right things with their voices in those earlier years, then yes, we can expect that the voice will, will cruise for many decades thereafter. And it's not that you can't keep learning and can't keep developing, but the voice hits a level of maturity from our 30s onwards. I hope you've enjoyed today's live, I went to say live hangout. Join us on a Monday. I think Mondays would be good for you to join us for our live hangout, but this was a lot of vocal analysis, so I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you the next one. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.